Hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Bolesław Tekielski, and just to clarify, I'm not Mr. Oytun Eren Sengal. I hope I got this name right. There's a mistake in the conference papers. Anyway, I'm here today to talk about building applications for visually impaired users. I'd like to start with a brief introduction of who we are. Now, I am from the company Transition Technologies. We are a high-tech company and relatively big in Poland. We've got almost 500 engineers on board. And we mostly work for the foreign companies. We mostly do outsource and do sell our products outside. Some catchy and big names of our customers that we work for. That will be about the company, and now the topic is about building software for visually impaired people, and I'd like to introduce our team. Our team consists of both developers and testers and analysts. Building applications for people with no sight would be very challenging if we didn't have them on board. Thus, 1/3 of our team is our target group. Why we've decided to work for that sort of applications? Why we've decided to try to do something for the visually impaired people? Well, the first idea was to create the software with social impact, to improve, improve may not be the best word, but to have a better image of a company. We would like to be perceived as a company which is not only concerned on earning money. Thus, our investment in this area. We wanted to learn new things. We wanted to explore new areas. We wanted to build something that is not yet on the market. As a company, we try to be first in different fields, and when we started, there was virtually no competition in this area. We've also started building our R&D division. Right now, we are R&D center. Which means that, among other things, 25% of our revenue has to come from the R&D activities. And last but not least, it is a good business case. According to the statistics, there are about 300 million people with sight impairments around the world, and about 30 million of them living in the United States and Western Europe. And there are about 7 million of visually impaired users using the iOS platform. We've launched the project in 2010. It is we've used the European Union funds to co-found the project. It is we've started our activities as a part of a project called iVirtualEye, which was co-founded by Polish government and European Union, and it continues until now. So it's almost 3 years of development and building our platform and solutions. What we are doing, what we've started, and where are we going? We've started with a relatively small idea. It was the targets of the project were strictly research, ambitious ideas about what can we do and what we thought was viable for the users. So we've had ideas like detection of pedestrian crossing. We've thought about detecting the color of the pedestrian crossing lights. We thought about detecting of approaching objects. Things like cars and buses. This is becoming more and more important, especially with bigger and growing number of electrical cars, which are extremely dangerous for people with no sight. And we also thinking about implementing a sort of assistant which would help people cross the pedestrian crossing by informing if they are on the right track or not. This idea evolved into a whole toolset for visually impaired people. We get lots of feedback from our users and beta testers, and we've learned a lot about what do our users really need. It's a good point to always have your customers working with you. Always have a tight loop about the feedback and get the ideas and try to fulfill the real needs. It's really difficult, especially in this area, to guess what's the real need, and it's really difficult to assess if the solution that you're working on is helpful. We've worked hard on having our beta testers and customers supporting us and targeting us towards the solutions that they would like. How did we do it? Well, at the first we had to choose the platform that we'll be mostly working with. We've choose to go on with Apple in the iOS platform for many reasons. Basically, from our perspective and from the perspective of our potential customers, it has the most standardized hardware that had all the features that we've needed, like the GPS, which we've used to obviously for the location tasks. Just the side note, an iPhone 4S and above supports not only GPS system but GLONASS. This is a Russian system, and we've had one testimony from the guys who's working with us that he was in Greece on his holidays, and he got lost in the city. It's a canyoning problem when the GPS signal didn't reach his phone, and so he switched to iPhone and our application, and with it he could find his way out. So another testimony that our solutions work. Obviously we use the camera extensively, and the other thing that is nice about iPhone that when we started, it was the only platform that allowed the direct access to the buffer, to the image buffer, meaning that there was no overhead of no extra time needed to transfer the image from the camera and work on it. We just had the direct access to it, which allowed us for quick algorithms. We use Compass. It's one of the issues that visually impaired people have is that even though they can memorize by heart the way from example from work to home or to the shop, it's quite often difficult for them to get themselves orientated against characteristical point. So they quite often ask, okay, I know that I'm on this very street, but which direction am I heading? If you could help me and position me towards the north, then I would find my way further. Our application helps them to do it on their own. Generally, we strive to make visually impaired people as self-reliant as it's only possible by giving them some tools that help them. The other thing about the iOS, it's the most accessible solution as for now. Let me do a very short presentation. One could think, what could a visually disabled person do with a touch screen? And the answer is, with the technology that Apple introduced, almost everything. So by simply enabling the built-in screen reader, user can navigate. Everything is read back to the user. There is a predefined set of gestures which allows the user to operate. perhaps if someone is interested after the talk, I can show it and talk about it a little bit more. Generally, that was the other competitors at this time were far behind the iOS in terms of accessibility, and for this many reasons we've chose to go on with Apple platform. From the software developer perspective, iOS platform is also a good solution, because when we started by the time of iOS 3, we are now having iOS 7, and there were no major breaking changes. We did not have many issues, or very few issues with our applications when the iOS version were changed. It was the evolution of the revolution. Each version brought something new and nice, and which helped us in our projects, but we did not have any problems with running on the older versions. I've mentioned the standardization. The other thing about standardization is the adoption rate. The iOS users upgrade operating system as it's becoming available. Like now, the statistics says that almost more than 90% of iPhone users are running iOS 6. Well, this is from 2012, from the end of 2012. So there's a very good adoption. So we don't. So we kind of assured that our environment and the user's environment do not differ much. This iPhone's accessibility technology, VoiceOver, has been enabled. Well, it's been introduced with iPhone 3GS, so it's a long time. It's platform which is really known in the environment. It's earned their position, and it's not that scary for the visually impaired user as the other touch-enabled platforms. We've worked, developing the mobile applications, sometimes is perceived as simple tasks, because usually they aren't huge. The code base is relatively small. The application has a limited functionality. Yet we've worked hard on creating kind of a complex release process. First of all, we've implemented a continuous integration, and we do have unit tests and kind of functional tests, and this is all running continuously, allowing the developers to see if everything's okay from the code point of view. Now, it is difficult for us to test our solutions. Thus, we have a group of beta testers whom has the access to the beta builds. Well, I wonder if any one of you have heard about the Testflight platform. Okay, so it's a platform which allows you to develop the beta versions to the selected testers, and we've invented a very similar solution before Testflight. So we've got the mail-based distribution to strive to get the shortest loop, the simplest possible install. We had to have in mind that for visually impaired user, locating a link on a web page is more challenging. It's kind of obvious for us, yet for them it's kind of challenging. Thus, when we've introduced our system and they got the emails with links to the application and they could install it with a single click, it was a huge plus. Then we still have an issue about getting the feedback for our customers, for people that use our application. It's not that obvious that they can write an email, go to the forum, and post a thread. Not every solution is equally accessible, and though they would prefer to either call us directly or drop us an email, and for many different reasons it's very difficult. We strive to convince them to use the user's voice. Well, we've chosen this platform because it offers integration and SDK, and it's a platform which allows for relatively easy providing the feedback and bug reports to the developers and to the developer of the application. It also has a sort of a forum, then there are threads, and you can vote on ideas and bugs. This is the ideal solution from our perspective, because we can manage the next the scope of work. We can easily see what users want, what are the ideas, which one gets the highest votes, and etc. Now, our users would love to use the Voxer. It's a kind of a walkie-talkie application, and they just drop us the voice notes, and this is the channel of communication that they would like to have. Now, for many reasons, it's difficult for us. Well, it's a direct communication. We have to translate the voice message into another forum thread. Then we have to point users to the new idea or a bug. Well, this is working with people with disabilities, especially sight disabilities. It's difficult. They are not very open. They are kind of difficult to conceive to new ideas. Sometimes they aren't really open-minded. We've got lots of mails, and those mails are being quoted and replied by other users, and getting any information from it, it's like advanced data mining. So hopefully, well, luckily, more and more of our users adopt this user voice approach, and the number of issues that we do have is reducing. But this is one of the biggest pains. On one hand, we extremely value the feedback and support. Yet on the other hand, the users expect that we will reply shortly, that we will implement, that we will work on the features that they are suggesting us. And we've got tons of extra work just to extract and work on the information. Now, when the loop is closed and everyone's more or less happy, we do the App Store release and publish the new version of the application. Yes, we've encountered, and we're still encountering lots of challenges while working with that sort of applications. First one, the obvious one, is the target. We have issues, we have problems with defining what really our users want. We are thinking that our ideas are okay, yet it turns out quite often that they would expect and find more useful, quite different ideas. Well, it's problematic to test the solution because the visually impaired user uses the phone with, well, completely different ways. And though we are trying to learn how to do so, we wouldn't be able to do. And that results in a long time that it takes to test our solution. We have to wait basically for them to fully test our solution, to go through the new features, new bug fixes, and to report back to us. And then and only then we can say that the work is done. We've had issues, and it's still an open issue with the environment. It's kind of closed society. They aren't very open to new ideas. They prefer to not to go outside. They've got mailing lists and the other points of contacts, and they do not really like to accept people from outside, especially commercial. So any commercial solutions are not well perceived within the environment. the users, especially in Poland, are used to get the help from the non-government organizations, from the government, but not from the commercial ones. One of the biggest challenges was when we've started cooperating with Polish Association for the Blind. It's the biggest organization which associates visually impaired people in Poland, and we wanted to pay for their help with assessing our solutions. And it took me about 4 months until I've convinced them that, well, please help us, we'll pay you for your services, just work with us and tell whether we are going in the right direction. So it was horrible. Well, obviously there are technical issues, and they are slightly different than in regular development. Well, we are working in the voiceover mode that I've just presented previously, and everyone is used to gestures on the touch-enabled screen. There are many available gestures which are extensively used in the iPhone or any other touch-enabled applications, like shortcuts, the things that enable you to work smoother with the application. Unfortunately, in VoiceOver, most of them are not available. VoiceOver redefines gestures, gives you a small subset of them, and in fact does not allow you to implement your own. The other issue is that scarce resources. Just if you query the Stack Overflow for VoiceOver, you get like 150 threads, whereas when you ask for a very basic control, the table view, you've got like 10 times more results. So even folks at Apple sometimes cannot answer the questions. So unless you get a premium support, then we've got a couple of open questions on developer.apple.com, and we've got no answer. The problem is that Apple enforces strict guidelines on developing the user interface, and it's coherent. We can discuss whether it's okay or not. It is as it is, and we cannot do anything about it. Now, it wasn't meant for visually impaired people, obviously, and we have to remember that visually impaired person always have a white cone in one hand, thus it can operate the phone with only one hand. And we've had real issues with Apple restrictions. Well, the first version of our application was breaking the Apple guidelines. We've implemented the solution which was operatable with one hand, and it was very well perceived by our beta testers, and then we were trying to push it through the App Store. And well, it turned out that it wasn't acceptable. I even, for the first time then, I've got phone calls from Apple, and like 6 p.m. in the evening, I got a call from California, and hi, I'm Steve from Apple. We've got issues with your application. We just simply can't accept it because it's breaking our design rules. And I was trying to argue with them that we are developing very specific target, that the solution and the guidelines that the Apple has does not always apply, and sometimes are even wrong. Taking the modal screens, for example. It's a very nice solution if you can have a small pop-up when you, say, issue a long press against an element on a list. It works very well on the iPhone. It doesn't work at all when you've got a voice-over enabled, because simply the screen reader does not find this additional element. So as a result, we have to perform some actions which would require a gesture or a pop-up screen. We have to split those in many additional superfluous screens. But that's the only way. Apple is not really open to innovations in this area. The funny thing is that one version of our application was actually approved. We had the light version of the application with a small subset of functionality offered for free, and it got accepted. And the same application, which only differs in features, not the look, was rejected. And as a result, we had to rewrite the application, change completely the user interface, and convince the users that the way that the new interface would be usable. The marketing and promotion is especially challenging. As I've mentioned, this is a closed environment. Well, generally, people buy with their eyes. So there's the advertisement with colors, with beautiful girls and nice cars and stuff. This channel is closed for us. What we're trying to is to join the mailing groups, to join the forums. We are trying to get the influential people from within the environment to promote our solutions. We have blogs, and we are trying to get bloggers interested in our solutions. And we even resort to plain old telemarketing, trying to get in touch with the organization associating the blind people all around the world, and trying to get them interested in our solutions. Takes a lot of time, and yet did not brought huge benefits for us, but we are kind of in the beginning of our way, although the project lasts for a couple of years, and we hope that we'll become more and more visible and recognizable within the environment, within the user community. Now, as I've mentioned, it's really difficult to think about solutions that are really helpful for the visually impaired people. We've got a request to implement the flashlight or a torch. And why would a blind person need a torch? Well, it turns out that quite often the guiding dogs are afraid of dark. And this was the case. That guy had a power outage in his flat, and he had to carry his dog downstairs and upstairs a couple of times because the dog is afraid of dark. We've added this functionality, and we got one more happy user. At this point, we've got a small family of seeing assistants, as we've called them. The first application that we've made and published is SeeingAssistant-Move, and it's targeted as the aim for the pedestrian navigation in the city. It's unlike the usual turn-by-turn navigation. It's based on the points of interest created by the blind for the blind. There is a huge database of those points made in Lodestone, which was a very popular program for Nokia's and Symbian system. And we've adopted this format. We also support OpenStreetMap, Foursquare, and any other sources. And we enable user to navigate by those points. We enable them to create their tracks, automatic and manual. In automatic tracks, it's a kind of Ariadne thread, so that the user starts his journey at some point, starts tracking, and then can get back to where he was. As a small bonus, we've added the weather forecast, and one of the first bug reports that we had, it was that the weather forecast differs from the one the user saw in the TV, and we should do something about it. So we've got different sort of feedback. The other one is Home. The idea for Home is to make some subset of daily tasks more accessible for the user. We've got bar and QR code scanning and printing, which allows user to tag items with Home and distinguish from the items that are of the same form yet differ in content, like CDs, for example, or any sort of documents. We've done the color recognition, so as the user can dress himself and match the suit with a tie, for instance. And we've got a light detection, which turns out to be quite useful for the users. And for the users with low sight, we've got digital magnifying glass. Those are, well, there are hardware solutions similar to those available for the visually impaired users, but they're extremely expensive. Obviously, they are co-founded like by Polish governments and the governments in other countries, yet we strive to give something similar or even better for a fraction of price and implement it on a phone, which is something that the user always have on himself or herself. During the development, we've learned a lot, and one of the things that took us long to learn was the lean development and a term called minimal viable product. I wonder if anyone of you heard those terms. Okay, so as you know, the idea is to make the smallest thing that would attract the market. So it's perhaps not the best definition, but the two previous applications are relatively big and have a lot of functionality in terms of mobile applications, of course. Then we've noticed that some of the users use just a very small subset of the functionality. Thus, we've decided to go on and create small applications with one functionality at the cheapest price so that the user can complete the suite that works the best for him. And we've took this magnifying glass from the Home Assistant and created it as a standalone application. We've took the light detection and we made it a standalone application. And the same will apply for the color detection, which we'll also would like to publish as a separate application. Where are we heading? Well, we would like to provide more and more help for the users. We'd like to explore new areas, and we were working hard on image processing and recognition. And it turned out that although the smartphones and iPhones are more and more powerful, they are not powerful enough to run the image analysis in the real time. Thus, we've made a proof of concept of cloud computing when we've put the heavy machinery in the cloud and reduced the phone to simply being a terminal which sends the images to be processed to the cloud. Well, the idea is to provide the user the solution with really low cost. We've run tests, we've made a proof of concept, and what we've learned is that we will be able to provide advanced image processing capabilities for a really low monthly fee for the end user. The next things that we are working on is the OCR, and although that term is widely known and it's been implemented in numerous solutions, we are trying to target the real cases. Take the gas meter reading, for instance. Visually impaired people would like to be would like to be as self-reliant as it's only possible. Just they do not want others to come to their house and and check the gas meter readings for them. And there is a special application called VisVis where they can send the images of the things that they would like to be described, and the volunteers help them and provide them the description. And the kind of a problem is that, say that they pose the picture of a gas meter reading and they've got the answer, yes, this is a gas meter, and not the gas meter reading itself. And well, my Mac never hanged, but it sometimes happens, and in this case you've got no access to the screen reader, and the user doesn't know what to do. So we are looking into those very specific areas of usage of optical character recognition. The next big thing that we'll be working on is the detection of public transportation numbers. It's the other case from the real life, that the two buses are coming to the bus stop, and our user asks someone what's just arrived, and he got the answer that, say, number 10 and number 12. but the person that is answering gets them in the reverse direction. So the user enters the first bus and ends up not going to the direction that he or she wanted. So this is the biggest challenge that we're working on right now. It's in a very early stage, but we hope that it would be a workable solution, and in short time the users would be able to check what's coming just on their own without asking others. So that'll be it. I think I was talking too fast and I finished earlier. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions to me, please ask me, and thank you.
What does the use for continuous integration?
What is the use for continuous integration? Okay, well, we constantly work on features and bug fixes and development. And developers are just like other people. They sometimes forget to comment out the debug settings or the developer for specific settings. And the problem is that we find it difficult to test our solutions. Thus, everything goes to the CI. It's being compiled, it's being published, and being sent to our beta testers.
What tools?
What tools? Sorry. We use Hudson. Okay. Okay.
Building the solution for iPhone, do you assume that all your users use iPhones, or do you think that they will buy iPhones because of your solution?
We are both. When we are presenting our solutions, we do a lot of work when promoting and marketing our applications. One of which is meeting the organizations, and those people mostly use phones with keyboards. They are, you know, somehow do not want to adopt the touch screens. And when we start presenting, it's usually the first hour is not presenting our solution, but the touch-enabled phone. Apple should pay us a fee, a success fee. And quite often we get the opinions that, okay, I didn't know that you've got so nice solutions that work so well on a touch phone. So my next phone would be definitely iPhone with your solutions, with your applications.
Tell me, how does business model, because maybe this is a stereotype of mine, but people with disabilities tend to earn less money, and you know, such a high-tech solution like yours, although it might be cheaper than the hardware solutions you've mentioned, is still something that is not really available to all people who would need this. How does this situation look from
It is not quite true. We thought so when we started, but it turns out that hardware solutions are extremely expensive. A simple color detector or a light detector are, say, half the price of an iPhone. And we do sell our applications for a couple of euros, the most expensive ones. Most of them are below €1. And you have to bear in mind that even if the user buys a Nokia, he has to buy a screen reader as well, and the price of a screen reader is comparable to the iPhone. So our business model is to convince or attract the people with iPhones so that they got the set of tools which would replace all hardware or most of the hardware solutions for the fraction of price.
Is your main client base outside of Poland? Your main clients are from the Western countries, or your main client base is Poland?
Well, we are trying to go outside. There are about 200,000 visually impaired people in Poland, and we've got a really low adoption rate of iPhones for many, many reasons. So what we are really looking from the business perspective is the United States and the Western Europe. Though, if we'll keep on working and the cloud-based solution would be more and more available, then we would not be restricted by the iPhone. This could be then any smartphone with a camera and the internet connectivity. So we're not close to the Apple only. No more questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.